and welcome to Perspectivas Latinas, a community service of CAN TV. I'm your host, Claudia Urbano. Let me start today's show by asking you an important question. If a disaster or emergency were to happen in our city, would you be ready? Would you know what you need, where to go, or how to reconnect with your family? If you answer no, then stay tuned, because we will discuss everything you need to know about emergency preparedness. Our guests today are Laritza Lopez and Marisela Vasquez. Laritza is the spokesperson for the Gear Up, Get Ready Community Preparedness campaign, that is an initiative whose goal is to promote citizen action toward preparedness. And Marisela is a meteorologist who is a member of the National Weather Association and the American Meteorological Society. That's a tough word for me. She also was the first Spanish-speaking Latina meteorologist in Chicago, in the Chicago Spanish media. Together, they will help us get informed, be prepared, and take action in case of a regional emergency. Welcome to Perspectivas Latinas. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to start with you, Laritza.
Sure.
Tell us about the campaign.
Well, the Gear Up, Get Ready campaign was brought to the region by the Regional Catastrophic Planning Team of Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana. They're really a group of individuals across all these counties that have gotten together to ensure that the region would be ready in case of a catastrophic event, whether it's weather-related or even terrorism, which unfortunately does happen today in the United States. Their main objective of this campaign was to really go out and educate over 100,000 households, where they would really gain a better understanding of simple steps that they can take in order to be more self-resilient. One of the things that the studies that we did pointed out was that individuals may feel, you know, the term first responders, individuals may feel that, oh, you know what, the police is going to come or somebody's going to come and help me. What they may not realize is if you look at a place like Madison, Wisconsin, or Chicago as a big city, well, they will come. Of course, they will come and they'll do everything they can if they have demonstrated. Excuse me, but how long will it take for them to come to your house?
Yeah, it would be much better if they are ready and they know what to do.
So this program was exactly about that. What are some things, simple things, each family, each household can take, the steps they can take so they can be better able to take care of themselves until help can arrive.
And how long ago has this campaign started?
The campaign actually formally started in May of this year.
Okay.
The planning for it started in January, and in fact they did a similar campaign last year. They launched the pilot last year, so this is an effort that is ongoing. The recent campaign where we did the media coverage and we actually went into the different communities in Spanish and English, disabilities, sign language, was from the period of May till the end of July.
Okay, I see. And I know that you brought a video about the campaign that we can watch, right?
I did.
All right.
I did give people a basic idea of those steps.
Awesome, let's roll it.
When disaster strikes, you will be the first to respond. What will you need? Will you know where to go? Where will you reconnect with your family? Get the answers now. Visit gearupgetready.org and download your emergency card and your family emergency plan. Disasters can happen at any time. Get ready now. A few simple steps will make a difference. Get your emergency card today. It's free. Complete your family plan. Download the forms at gearupgetready.org.
Great. So Marisela, tell me, why do you think a campaign like this is necessary here in the city of Chicago?
It's really important because we're susceptible of severe weather, natural disaster. We live in an area, we have Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana, that we're close to the tornado alley. And we can get tornadoes, we can get winter storms, we can get heat waves, we can get floods, we can get all these natural disasters. We saw it in 1990. Plainfield tornado killed almost 30 people, and F5, the only one that has struck the Chicago metropolitan area. We haven't seen another F5. I hope we don't see it, but people, it's not ready for that. They forget about this disasters, and it's important to have a plan and be prepared. I'm also part of a Tornado Ready Chicago that it's managed by National Weather Service and several meteorologists in the media and FEMA and Homeland Security, that we're working together to educate the people. Not only tornadoes, but we also like floods, lightning. People don't know about lightning.
Tell us about the floods, for example. You, before starting the show, you were telling me how important it is for people not to drive when there are floods, and you were talking about like the amount of water that gets accumulated.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about
6 inches of water can go inside your car. A foot of water can float your car.
Okay.
2 feet of water can drag your car. So it's really dangerous. We always tell people never drive in areas where it's flooded. And plus you have cables. You don't know if you can get electrified. You have to be really careful. It's natural disaster. You're dealing with Mother Nature, and it's so powerful.
Right.
We also talk about strikes. You know that lightning can heat the temperature, the air temperature, 50,000 Fahrenheit. We're talking about 5 times the sun's temperature surface. Imagine 50,000 Fahrenheit.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So
Super hot.
that's why we always say if you're planning outdoor activity and you know that there's some thunderstorm, be prepared, have a plan. And like Loretta said, it's really important to always have a plan. And we always tell people never seek shelter under a tree. You always have to know where to go. And if you don't have an area, it's an open field, you're the tallest target. The lightning can strike you. So you always have to either just cancel it, and we would say go indoors and don't come out until 30 minutes after you hear the last thunder.
Oh, so you have to wait for 30 minutes.
Yes, it's safer because sometimes people like, oh, there's no more rain, it's over, and they go outside and guess what? There's more thunder and lightning.
So what are the most common disasters that may happen here in this area?
Like I said, we can have heat waves. We saw it in 1995. We saw more than 700 people were killed. It can happen. We also have winter storms. They can be affect our area. Tornadoes, we can have tornadoes. Some people say, well, we have the high rises, we have the buildings, we have the lake. It's not going to happen in a city like Chicago, or we might see it in the suburbs like Plainfield, but it could happen. It happened like a year ago. It happened in Dallas. We saw it in Atlanta. So it can happen in bigger cities. So we're not susceptible. It can happen in Chicago when we don't know. But we can get severe storms. We can get floods. We saw it in April, all those people that their property got damaged. We are surrounded around several rivers. Not because we have the lake, we're safe. So we can have...
Yeah, I think we tend to be like, oh, that happens, somewhere else. It's not going to happen here. That's why it's so important, I guess, to have campaigns such as yours, right? What should people do to get prepared, Laritza?
There are many things people do to get prepared. What we wanted as part of this campaign is talk to people about 3 very simple steps. Because if they were to take these 3 simple steps, they would be significantly better off. So one of the first things is the questions you post, right? What will you need should something happen? Where will you go if you needed to evacuate your home or something were to happen where you cannot, reconnect with your family? And that is the third question. Where will you reconnect with your family? So given those 3 questions, what we try to do is one of the first steps was we developed a family emergency contacts card. It's a very simple card. I know you're going to be providing the website to the audience, but the card basically, the idea is that you would fill the card out. It has the emergency contact name for, you can choose your wife or your husband. You would add a out-of-town contact. That's the second positioning on the card. The reason an out-of-town contact is important is because we have gotten so used to the mobile phones, we don't even remember numbers anymore.
That's so true.
I mean, if I don't have my phone, I don't have a number.
Right.
So the card actually plays that role. You really write down those numbers, and the out-of-town contact, if something were to happen in Chicago, most of the time the phone lines may not work, but sometimes they, because everybody's trying to get to each other, but they will work outside if you call somebody out of state. That's the preferred. But if you don't have somebody out of state, just try to make it outside of the city of Chicago, because what happens is that out-of-town contact actually serves as your family's communication point. So I actually filled out mine. I put it in my children's backpacks, the backpack they take with them whenever they're not with me, they have this one backpack that they take.
That's what I was going to ask you, where to save this information.
Yep, that's what you would do. I put it in my wallet, the one I always carry with me, and I put it in my husband's wallet. You have to put it in, it's one per family member.
Okay.
You fill it out. The out-of-town contact serves as your kind of communication point. You can't get to each other because it's too busy, and of course if your kids are in school you're going to be like getting very desperate.
Right.
So to have a plan, call this person. They call my mother who lives out of town. That's who we put down. They call her, we call her, we let her know, tell the kids to stay put, we were going to come and get them. So we communicate that way if something were to happen. That's our little plan. Every family can make that little plan. The other part is a neighborhood meeting place. That's the last part that you put into the card. So let's say that for some reason your neighborhood gets blocked off. You can't get to the house. Well, my kids, I have little kids. So, or even reconnecting with your husband. So we decided in an area where it's about 6 to 8 blocks away from our house, where if we can, for some reason, we cannot get to the house, that's where we're going to reconnect.
Oh, that's why you do it that way.
As simple as that.
Okay. So it has to be 6 to 8 blocks away from where you live.
Yes, it's going to depend on, the age of your children, right? So if you can make it a mile or a local church, it's got to be some distance. It can't be potentially in the corner, because when they block off areas, they're going to block off more than one block. So between that 6 to 8 blocks, you're pretty safe. Yeah, that's a good choice, because my kids are 6 and 8. If you have teenagers, you can go a little further.
Right. So then that's very important, a good point to have this with you all the time.
All the time. You kind of, hopefully you forget you have it and you never use it.
Hopefully.
And if you need it though, you have it.
You're prepared.
You're prepared.
So what else should we do in case of an emergency or disaster?
The second element is really the question of what will you need? That's really the next question. So what we've done there is we've developed a series of 12 items, very simple. And here's what the trick is. Most of these items, we're pretty confident you already have at home, and you have extras at home. So for example, a manual can opener.
Okay, yeah.
You may have an extra one at home. A tub or a waterproof container. If you can afford to buy a waterproof container, get a waterproof container, because if it's flood, the things may get wet. But if you can't afford one, I just got a regular tub from a store, to any retail store. And the idea is you gather these things in your house, the manual can opener, a flashlight with extra batteries. All the information is on the website, but the 12 basic items is canned goods, a NOAA radio, and I know Maricela will talk a little bit more about that later. Flashlight and batteries, believe it or not, toilet paper, personal hygiene items, first aid kit.
That's important at any moment.
And you want to have your own.
Right.
A whistle, copies of important documents. If a real catastrophe were to happen and you needed help, what would happen is you would need certain things, Social Security cards, but this is just a copy. It's not your originals. And what we did is we got a large Ziploc bag and put in the documents in there and sealed it, because that makes it waterproof.
Yeah, that's
and
interesting.
threw it into that tub.
I was just wondering, with this technology now, if it would be a good idea to have them scanned and put like somewhere online where you can just retrieve them.
You can. Part of the challenge there, why we really insist on having the copies in paper, is because, again, what if then you don't have access to it? The electricity goes.
Good point.
Or those things will happen. So really it's good to have it that way, because there will be emergencies where the electricity doesn't go and you have access to them.
Right.
But in the scenario where you cannot get to them, this is going to be the fail-safe, right? It's in this tub. You're going to have this tub with you. If you had to leave your home to evacuate to a local church or institution or whatever may happen, because you don't know what the situation will be, you have this information with you. It's important insurance documents for your house, birth certificates. The complete list is in the website.
Interesting. I would have never thought about like insurance.
Yes.
I was thinking more about, my ID,
Yeah,
my birth
absolutely.
certificate,
Your ID,
my Social Security card.
Yes, copies of all that.
But yeah, insurance is
Your
important.
insurance.
Very important.
If there's a flood and your papers get lost or whatever the case would be, you would have a copy of your documentation. In addition to that is a blanket or a towel, because it might be cold. It might be during the winter.
Especially here in Chicago,
In
you got to be
Chicago.
ready.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the last items is a change of clothes,
Okay.
Because let's say in that process you get really dirty or you get wet or you're uncomfortable. So these are things that you would personally use for your own use. And if you notice, I'm sure everybody has an extra t-shirt or pants they can throw in there.
Yes.
I'm sure you have an old towel or new towel. Many of these things, again, you really have them at home. So the idea is you gather them, put them in this tub. It works like a little checklist, and it's available on the website. And then the items that you don't have at home, for example, in our case, one of the last items I didn't mention and very important is water.
Of course.
In our case, I actually don't buy water. We talked to a lot of people who don't buy bottled water. I'm one of those people. And when we were working on this project, I got a little scared. I realized, oh my God, if something were to happen and the water were to be shut off, because we use a water system attached to our faucet, we wouldn't have bottled water. So we actually went and we bought bottled water.
How do you calculate, like, is there a way to calculate how many, how much food or how much water do you have to store?
That's a great question. And again, the website is a great resource, and it has where you can put how many people in your family, and it gives you the exact amounts that you would need. The barometer, kind of like the usual guideline, is that you should have a minimum of 3 days supply, minimum.
3 days.
If you can do more. And the way that the water would work is, the idea is 1 gallon per person per day.
Okay.
That's the general guideline.
Okay.
But again, there's differences. My family says I'm like a camel, which I am.
So you can go
I
with a
drink
little bit of
water.
water.
Yes, I said
Oh,
I drink a lot of water.
Okay.
So it's like they say, where do you pack your water that you're drinking? So in my case, I would have to put away a little more.
Okay.
So that's the general idea. That's why it's like each person is a little different. You have to go by what you think you're going to need. And if you have small children, you have to pack for them. If you have pets, you'd want to put canned goods, right?
Good
also,
point.
the other big part of that is the water and the food. It's a long time before it actually expires, but we recommend that individuals find a point, whether it's your birthday or daylight savings time, because we have daylight savings time, and you have to swap those items out. So take out those canned goods and use them. And put away, a new set, because they will eventually expire. Because remember, hopefully you will never need it. But the worst thing that can happen is you do, and now all your food is expired and you can't eat it.
Do you have anything like that, Marisela?
No, not at all. But we have like all our paper safety in a box, like waterproof, fireproof.
There you go.
Whenever you need it. We always have water bottles because we just think like if there's an emergency, we have cans, but we haven't gathered together in a certain place.
Right.
But
So it's good
really
to have them all.
Really
That's what they recommend highly. There's scenarios. Look what happened in Boston, where people were actually told it's what's called shelter in place. The good news, so that means that you had to stay in your home. You couldn't leave your home. So in that scenario, you have access to your entire home, and that's great, right? In that scenario, you have water, you know where things are. There are scenarios where you may have to go to a basement or go to a specific area in the house, and it's not safe to have access to the whole house. So the idea behind this is this will cover you pretty much in whatever emergency may occur, at least at that basic level.
Right.
As I mentioned, the website has a lot more information on what to do during, before, and after a specific emergency, a tornado, a hurricane.
Oh, okay.
It'd be great if individuals go and visit, because if you're ready for the next level, we just want people to take this basic step. It's 12 little items in this container. But in Chicago with winter, for example, and what happened on Lakeshore Drive, there's actually examples on the website of an emergency kit for your car.
Yeah, I was going
Little
to
things
ask
you
you
can
about
keep
that.
in your car.
I was going to ask you about the car. What should we keep in in our cars? But I wanted to ask you first about the radio. What is the NOAA radio? What is this?
No, it's managed by the National Weather Service, and it's really important that each household have a radio. Why? Because in the middle of the night, you're not watching TV, you're not listening to radio. Also, you're sleeping. So sometimes if a tornado hits the area, you have a severe thunderstorm, this goes off immediately, the alarm, and it tells you. Unfortunately, it's not in Spanish for the Spanish community. It's all in English. But I know there's some radios or some brands that have the translation with the letters, and they will come out. But the main point, you will hear the alarm going off. So that means seek shelter. It will tell you, like, I don't know, it's a severe thunderstorm right now. bringing like strong winds up to 60 miles per hour. It's affecting, let's see, Rogers Park, and it's moving towards this area, and it will be at this time, and it's telling you time.
So it's very specific.
Yes, and that way you seek shelter. If it's a tornado, you don't, with tornado, you don't have that much time. It's not like a hurricane. You have 5 minutes at least. Scientists are trying to find like more like a warning that can warn people more than 5 minutes. Then unfortunately we know what can cause a tornado, but we don't know exactly what. So they're trying to investigate more to see, like, to give more more time to the community, so we can avoid catastrophes and fatalities.
So these radios should be like the smoke detectors.
Yes.
You know, they should be in place in your house.
In your house.
At a safe place, I guess, but it's loud enough so you could hear it from any.
Yeah, and you can buy it anywhere. You can have it in all the.
And where can you get them?
You can get a Radio Shack and all the supermarkets.
So it's very easy to find them.
It's easy to find them. You just ask a Radio Noah, and like I said, there's some brands that even have for other languages. You don't get the indication when you hear the voice coming up, but you can see it at the letter with the letters and everything. It would give you information. There, we always ask people, you have to have a radio. A NOAA radio. It's really, really important.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that after I'm done with this show. Go to the store and buy a NOAA radio.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to know that when we did our research, we found them for $19.99.
They're really cheap.
You know, so it sounds
Very
really like it would be this major thing. So I
Right.
wanted to make sure individuals know these items on the list, they were selected because of how critical they are for that starting point, but also because they're accessible, they're affordable. Many stores, a NOAA radio you can get, we saw as cheap as $19.99.
Yeah, that's
and if you get them on
affordable.
sale, you might get as low as $15.
right.
And Labor Day sales are coming up.
Right.
So that
So
might be a good
happy
time.
with the sales.
Yeah.
So about the car, if I'm in a car, what should I, have inside? To be
There,
ready?
again, we took the same approach, meaning that kind of basic starting point, and you can add other things over time. But particularly in Chicago and areas where there's severe winter storms and what happened on Lakeshore Drive, the basic things is water.
Okay.
Right, gotta have some water in your car. Same idea, make sure you rotate it out, because the idea is not that you use this water for yourself. It's there in case of an emergency, then you have it. Sometimes they recommend, and you can go to those dollar stores or other stores, the blankets, the aluminum blankets, the heating blankets. If you don't want to buy those, then you get, again, extra blanket in your car. The flashers, I believe they're called, because you're pulling off the road if there's a lot of snow, and you put them outside flares so that people can see your car. Those are some of the elements. Also, the jumpers. In case your car, the battery dies, you can stop somebody. Hopefully they'll help
That's
you
the
and
only
get
thing
your
I
car.
have.
Sorry, well, that's good.
That's good.
And there's quite an extensive list there, right? But the idea is that there's some basic items, the water, a blanket, or that little pack that you can use to heat yourself. And the idea the same. If you know you usually have 2-3 people in your car, then you should pack enough for those individuals and leave it in a nice little corner in your trunk. And hopefully, again, you would never need it, but that's the whole point, that when you do need it, it will be there for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So we have a few minutes left. So I would like to wrap it up by you recapping, briefly the main points that people need to remember to be ready.
Sure. There's 3 things that are what we're saying, the basic things. 1, complete your family emergency contact card and put it in a location that every single member of the family carries with them at all times.
Okay.
2, gather your emergency kit. 12 little items gets you started. You mostly have all of these things at home, and it's a little checklist. It's all on the website, so you can check off what you have, circle what you don't have. The last piece is actually developing a family emergency plan. Also available, these are all free, downloadable materials on the website. It's the gearupgetready.org website. And the family plan is, again, the family talks a little bit about meeting points, important information, doctors, if somebody's diabetic or what can, that may go into the kit as well, some medications, if you have pets. So the family plan is much more extensive, probably will take a family about 10 minutes to complete, but it even gets as far as going to your school, children's school, or your work, and asking what would happen if there's an evacuation. Where will you take my children so that I know where to get them?
Right.
Work. so that your husband knows or your family knows. If the building were to be evacuated downtown or anywhere in the suburbs or city, where, as opposed to the emergency happens and you don't know how to reconnect with your family. That's the purpose of the family emergency plan. It's to allow you step by step easily to create a basic plan so that you can do better in case of an emergency.
Great. And Marisela, any last remarks, anything that you want to recommend the audience?
Yeah, just always be prepared. Don't ignore warnings, advisories, watches, because they're there for a reason. We're always monitoring the weather. As a meteorologist, we're always there. When we have severe weather, we're always checking because we want to save life. That's that's our job. That's what we're working for. And Chicago is susceptible for a tornado, for floods, heat wave. We've seen it in the past.
Yes.
And we should not forget that it could happen
Yeah,
tomorrow.
sometimes, we listen to the news about the weather and it's like,
Yeah,
they missed it. They're gonna miss it again. It's not true, or we don't pay attention to it as seriously as we should sometimes.
And now technology is growing. Now it's becoming more accurate to forecast, but we're dealing with science, with Mother Nature. Sometimes, like, a front can move a little bit, it changed our whole forecast.
Yes.
So we're trying our best. We're working with technology, and hopefully one day we can have, instead of 5-minute warning, we can have like 20-an-hour warnings, so we can save more lives.
Yes, that's great.
But until then,
You have to be prepared.
Do the
you have
plan.
to do the plan,
Have a plan
be
in it.
prepared.
Yes.
And even then, it's good to have these things
Of course.
available.
Think ahead.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank you, Maricela and Laritza, for being
You're
here.
welcome.
This has been very important information that we should keep in mind. And hopefully, we'll never have to use it.
Yep.
But in case, it's good to have this information. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, and I hope to see you again.
No, thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us here.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show then. I would like to say thank you for watching us today. Perspectivas Latinas is a community service of CAN TV. If your non-for-profit organization would like to use CAN TV, please call us at 312-738-1400 and ask for non-for-profit services. Tune in to Perspectivas Latinas for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV Channel 21. I'm Claudia Urbano, and thank you so much for joining us.